Hi everyone. I thought it was about time I came out of my cave, my winter hibernation phase. Things have actually been very busy for me in every which way, and that's not a bad thing, just busy, that's all. Having said that, this is actually my third video about this deck because things just keep progressing, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to scrap the others and start afresh because I just had another discovery about 10 minutes ago. So I think it'll be easier to start again rather than piece all the other bits and pieces together. Yeah, so on the 2nd of May this year, I fell in love with a deck. Now that's nothing new, is it? And we all have our wish lists and we say, oh yes, I really like this one and I love that one and yada yada. But every now and then I feel like, you know, I'm sort of swept off my feet where there is true meaning behind a particular deck for me. So the ones that remain, or the decks that remain on my wish list, are still very special, but I haven't purchased them. And there's nothing stopping me other than my intuition. And that's so interesting when, you know, all of a sudden I have to have this deck now. And if you know me at all, you know that I like to keep my collection quite modest. So when I saw the unboxing, which I will put a link below, from the beautiful Empathic Tarot, I fell in love with the Theatre Dolls Tarot, which is sometimes called Theatre of Dolls or Puppet Theatre Tarot. And it is by Maria Kurara. It comes out of Russia, I understand. And I could not get over this deck when I saw it. For me, it is just, I think it's going to be my working deck, to be honest. So I did a bit of shopping around after viewing Empathic Tarot's video. She just did an unboxing, and then further to that she did, which is absolutely essential for us folk that don't speak Russian, she was kind enough to upload 2 videos, one on the majors and one on the minors, and she went through every card and explained the meaning, because the guidebook that you receive with the deck is only in Russian. And I'm hoping and praying that one day there is at least a PDF in English that we'll be able to download. And if I can find contact details for Maria Carrara, I'm going to write and ask. In fact, I might beg, because I would just love, you know, further information or more in-depth information about her take on her deck. Not only that, she actually does, I read, she does give a description for reversals. Now, I don't do reversals, but I'd love to read about them because I love this deck so much. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith based deck, if you want to call it that. Can you use it on your intuition alone? Of course you can. But you know me, I really do love to understand, first of all, the intent of the creator, the intent behind that artwork that I fell in love with, because oftentimes things will come up that I missed. So I'm not desperate to do that for every deck, but this one, yeah, it's just those decks that I really hold close to my heart. So what a ride. Because I'm purchasing this deck from a country far, far away where, you know, there may not be easy translation if we need to communicate. The culture can be quite different. I decided to shop around, but I really found it hard to find a choice of websites where this deck is sold. There were 2 that I came up with that I thought looked reputable, like they're an online store that sell tarot. The thing I find really interesting is when I did a search and then I went back some days later or a week later, one of them I couldn't find. It seems to me that every time I go on Google, I get different results, or sometimes the store that I went to came up quickly, other times I wouldn't see it at all. So the second one I can't even recommend to you now because I can't find it, but if I do, I'll let you know. I do remember the web page being like a pale pink sort of color, or a dusty pink, you might say. Whereas the place I bought my deck from is called, I think it's actually called Tarot Store, but it's w.store-tarot.com.
or .ru, one or the other, but you'll see it there. There are not many choices with regards to options. I must ask the beautiful lady at Empathic Tarot where she bought hers from. Just there may be another reputable online store that she can recommend. I'm sorry to call you she if you are watching. I do think I know your name via one of our private Facebook groups, but I'm not going to say your name because I don't think you've ever mentioned it on your videos. So for privacy reasons, I will zipit.com. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you so very much, A, for introducing me to this deck. I am so in love. And B, for going to all of that trouble to upload 2 videos, as I suggested earlier, on one on majors and one on minors. I mean, that's a lot of work. So without you, I really wouldn't have a decent handle on this deck. So again, there's the box. Now, to my surprise, I opened this. It was very well packaged, so arrived safely. Shrink wrapped, and then the deck inside was shrimp wrapped. No, it was shrink wrapped, which is normal, but there was no little white book, nothing. So I've discovered that there are 2 different versions. One has black borders like this one, and another has white borders, which you'll see on Empathic Tarot's video. And I prefer the black, to be honest with you, and I'm glad that's what I received. But the white, I think it's the box set. You get the white borders and you get a guidebook. But again, unless you speak Russian or know someone who can translate for you, what are you going to do? So for me, I thought, well, it doesn't matter. That's fine. But then I made another discovery. So I'm excitedly going through this deck and everything's in order. And I get to the end of the matches, which of course is fire or wands. And I discover that there is no Knight of Matches. Oh, of all the decks, not your average US games that I can easily communicate with. I thought, no way. Further along, then I discover I have no Page of Cups. Further along, then I discover I have 2 Queen of Pentacles or Queen of Earth and no King. So this particular deck is, I guess officially you could say, faulty. It has, or there has been a hiccup at the printer, the print run. It is no one's fault. These things happen. It's a mechanical issue, obviously, but I'm putting this out there to you for 2 reasons. One, maybe don't rush in and buy anything from store-tarot.com just yet, because if it's a whole batch, you too may end up in this situation. The other thing I would say is I'm a little disappointed. I wrote to them on their actual website has like those contact buttons that take you straight to them. And I wrote, you know, it's like you fill out the little form. I wrote and told them what happened. And it seems to me that it isn't reaching them. As soon as you press send, you still see your information sitting there. It doesn't seem to go anywhere. So then I thought, they've also got a contact button up top, which has their email address. That's fantastic. So I wrote them an email saying, please help. I know this is, I do not hold you personally responsible for this mishap. However, I have paid for a full deck and I have not received a full deck, and I would really appreciate if you could write back to me. Can I please get a copy of just those cards? I don't expect a new deck. And I didn't hear back from them. Then I wrote again, and it's been a good 10 working days. Not a response, not even, hey, got your email, I'll have to get back to you. I don't care if I wait 2 months as long as I know it's in the process. So to me, that is not great customer service. If they are selling worldwide, I am pretty sure they would have somebody, surely, that can speak English or some way, even if it's English translation software, which is so easy to get. It just doesn't seem right that they would be sending out to English-speaking countries and then not be able to communicate. Not much point in having a contact button on your website if you cannot respond, right? So I'm disappointed now. And that's why I did a video earlier and I said, look, I'll let you know what happened. And now I'm to the point where I think I've given it long enough to be able to at least make a comment. And I promise you, I will let everyone know if and when I do hear from them, and I'll let you know how I go. If they are just flooded at the moment, they might be really busy and haven't had time to write back. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. However, I still feel that customer service wise, that's enough time really for someone to at least write back and say, I'll have to get back to you. And, you know, I don't think that's being unreasonable, but I am going to take on board that there are differences in culture. There could be some kind of crazy glitch in the system where they have not received my emails, and so I have to stay open to that. So that's where I'm at. So I had to come up with a solution. With a broken heart, I sat there. You know, like, again, any other deck, like Scarabeo, I've heard people say, oh, yes, I, you know, got my deck and it had 3 cards that were very crooked, and I wrote to them. They sent those 3 cards immediately. I thought, yeah. Good one, the one that comes from Russia. Oh, I love a challenge. Anyway, I was desperate to use this deck. I mean, you can imagine, you open it up, you want to play now. So, desperate situation calls for desperate measures. I had a couple of spare, well, I have a few. You know those spare intro cards you get with other decks? Well, I keep them all for emergencies, and look what happened. So this is from, oh my God, you know this card. Oh, I've hit a blank. 2 of Owls. Are you watching? See? It's that really beautiful one that we're all using right now. I keep going to say Crystal Visions. No. The American Indian style. I'll move on. I'll get it in a minute. Anyway, the spare cards, you can see that I had to trim them, and I sprayed the back black. I'll show you the backs of this deck in a sec. And I've just had to write. It's not ideal, is it? But the point is I still at least can fan or cut this deck. And would you believe I actually did use this deck in a 12-card spread recently, and I, without even noticing, pulled one of these cards. So it worked pretty well. So here is the backing, which I love. And I can't think, because I need to go and have a look at that deck. Oh my God, hang on. I was saying Crystal Visions. Vision Quest. It's one of the spare cards from this beautiful deck, which is gorgeous in every way. So, anyway, next step. What I decided to do, actually, I watched Christine and Celeste's video on making her own deck. I'll put that below as well. And so she decided very cleverly, a deck that she truly loves, I won't spoil any surprises, she decided to, because it was a little smaller, it's a little shorter than a normal tarot size deck, she decided to scan it painstakingly and then create her own deck, but do or produce a larger size card, no borders. And that way she could see all the intricacies of the artwork, and it worked a treat. And I think she may have used make your own cards, which I have used also. But from what I saw, unless I misread, you need to create a minimum of 30 cards. Now, again, I may have done it incorrectly, but I tried to do just a few because I need 3 cards, 3. And I went on to Printers Studio. I think I actually discovered you could do a minimum of 8. So I tried to find an image of the cards that are missing. There wasn't many. Like seriously, there were just a few images up online for this deck. And so I was out of luck. That's why I made these. Fabulous. I sprayed that black, by the way. Did I say that before? That worked out pretty well. It's just a satin black. Pretty close to the actual you know, backing. But I thought I have no choice until I come up with a solution as to how I can get an image so I can scan it. Anyway, just over the last few weeks, it must be starting to spread because all of a sudden I found a number of them on Pinterest. And lucky for me, the 3 cards that I need, I did scan, went on to Printer Studio, but of course the resolution was too low. So then I had to, I found Resize Pick online, which is just a free service. You don't have to download anything, which is very handy. And I know there's PicMonkey as well, but anyway, this one I just came across and it enabled me to upgrade the res, which was fantastic. So I did that and then re-uploaded them, and oh my God, I feel so blessed. But I ended up scanning the back myself and creating those cards. But of course I had a few extra. So I thought, you know what, do 10. So for the remaining 7, I added 7 images of my own. And I thought I can actually, with my intent, allocate those as like a few little oracle cards as extras, because this deck comes with 2 extra cards, which I love. So you see here, we have a question mark and this sort of haze. So one of the cards basically says, your question is not clear, you need to ask again. And the other says, can't answer that question. It may be specific, but at this time there is no definite answer. So I will have a deck with 9 extra cards, and I'm hoping that the stock will be similar. This stock, it's not fab. It's quite flimsy, let's be honest. I am not pedantic about stocks, so I love this deck so much I'm not going to let it bother me. I will say that, I've said this before actually, sometimes I think that they use really, again, flimsy stock, but the coating that they put on it really does give it a bit of backbone. It shuffles like a dream if you are a riffle shuffler. But again, you wouldn't want to be heavy-handed with this deck, not at all. But anyway, that's standard, kind of standard finish, you know, not high gloss. I think it's 300 GSM from the printer. I made my own cards, some of you know, a round deck, and I just got the standard stock. And even though the feel of it is different to the touch, it's pretty well on par. So please keep your fingers crossed for me. And then would you believe, I know this is a lot of chit chat, but I just can't believe this journey that I'm on with this deck. Do you know what I discovered? That the world card in my deck is different to the world card in Empathic Tarot's deck. So we have a boxed set with a guidebook, not a little white book, a guidebook, but it's in Russian, white borders, or tuckbox. It's Friday. Tuckbox version, black borders, no little white book, no guidebook, different world card. The only bummer is I like the world card in the other deck better than this. So I could have scanned that and added that to my deck. Anyway, so I don't need to show you a whole lot of cards because, again, I've put the link to Empathic Tarot's videos below and she goes through every one. So I'll just show you a few highlights. Again, this is theatre dolls or puppet theatre tarot. So we are dealing with theatre dolls, and every theatre doll has a mask or wears a mask. And of course the expressions on their face, depending on where they are at in the Fool's journey, changes. I love it. So I'll show you first of all the Fool. Now, I did take a few notes. I'll just see if there's anything I need to remember to tell you. But I love this Fool card so much. So you can see this particular card, or this theatre doll, it's see-through, translucent. It is a glass Fool card because he hasn't manifested yet. He's got balloons floating up top there, as you can see, and they represent the elements. We have fire, earth, air, water, and also there's a black balloon right at the top there, which is spirit or ether. And you can see he's walking on a tightrope, and they in the book apparently talk about, are you, or the possibility of ending this journey and or I guess commencing this journey as the fool or the sage. If you are the sage, you will have the wisdom to look carefully ahead and see that there is, I'm sorry that the light's not very good. The sun is beaming out there, so I can't leave those curtains open. But anyway, there's a trap there. And, you know, you can see him walking along like most of the Fool cards on his merry way, looking up. He's got his jester hat on. And so it's great to be all jolly whizzy about life. But again, are you the fool or are you the sage? There are signs, you know, on springs poking up everywhere. And, you know, I just find that so intriguing, and you can take that so many ways. You know, it's like, it reminds me of that song. There was an old song back in the 70s. I think it was one of those 70s protest songs called Signs. And the lyrics, the chorus goes, signs, signs, everywhere signs. Blocking out the scenery, breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that. Can't you read the signs? And it's by 5-man electrical band. It's groovy. Find it on YouTube. And I love that the first verse, he says, because this is long-haired musicians of the 70s, right? And he says, and the sign says, long-haired freaky people need not apply. So I tucked my hair up under my hat and I went in to ask him why. He said, you look like a fine upstanding young man. I think you do. So I took off my hat and said, imagine that. Huh, me working for you. And then he goes into the chorus. I love it. Anyway, so it's almost like you could say, hey, there are warning signs always around you. If you look, you will see, and you will escape, if you like, the pain of getting caught in this bear trap if you pay attention. But there's also that other sign, like the song, that other side of things, like the song that says, yeah, there's signs everywhere. It's just, it boggles my mind. I can't keep up with it. I'm sick of being instructed what to do. The fool just wants to make his own decisions and go on an adventure. So again, life is a tightrope. And you can see he's on stage. This is the Theatre Dolls Tarot, and we have a curtain behind. So I love it. And it's multicolored. I think, again, that possibly is related to, you know, the different elements of life. And so then, just looking at this lighting, it's not so great. The world itself, let's see, I'll get to that. Okay, here she is. So this card here, you can see that she has a mask and she has a smile. Every major has a name, right? So we'd say this is the High Priestess, and she's actually called Contemplation. So you can see she's looking down at planet Earth, and she has, which is featured in a few cards, she has a magnifying glass there by her side. We have a book of knowledge, and she's looking down at the Earth. She's contemplating, she's taking notes, she's getting to know the world and how the world actually works. She's learning. So I really like that. And planet Earth is featured again. Here's the magician, and you can see him standing upright. He's like an upright hanged man, and he's juggling the elements. There's an egg timer which has been knocked over. Magician, it's not about time, it's not about linear time. And here we have, you know, the apple for earth, there's a match for fire, the needle is air, and a cup for cups. So he's amazing. But he's standing on top of the world. When we get to, say, the hanged man, look, there's the other side of it. He's hanging upside down and gaining his knowledge, and his head is kind of hovering over the top of the world, more or less. And look, see, because they're puppets, this is what the puppeteer would hold, and the puppeteer has just left this puppet to hang. There's no action while he gathers his higher wisdom and higher knowledge. He's got the book open. Oh my God, I love this. And it's on the stage. And when you watch Empathic Tarot's video, you'll see that the curtains, the backdrop changes color throughout the deck. And then speaking of world, here's the Emperor with his foot, his feet up on the chair there. And is that, oh no, that is a throne, sorry. Sometimes on the king, you see there's needles, the king and queen of needles, which is air. Their thrones have needles, coming out of the top of the throne. But again, if you can see, hopefully my camera will focus, but right there, it's almost like he's got a ship in his hand, and it's like he's placing things on the globe. So he decides where, things where things should be placed, where they are needed. And again, you can see he's got a smile on his face. He's in control. He's got knowledge. He's making the decisions. And there are masks on the floor that are unused. We're building our world. There's little dolls on the globe, 2 little people. It's a bit hard again to see, but if you have the... like little Russian dolls are featured throughout this deck. And so I do think they represent actual people. They're symbolic of actual people. So he's in control of the world. He is building up the world. That's so cool. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I just want to show you again, speaking of the world, the Fool and the World card in my deck. So there they are. I think they've got, yes, hands held. See how they're both smiling, their masks. So you get that beautiful sense of completion. The world, it's like they're not kind of looking down on the world. They are embracing the world. They are in physical contact with the world. They have, I guess it's just this beautiful sense of completion. We have been around the world, perhaps. I don't know because I don't have the book. But in Empathic videos, I had a really long day yesterday, and I'm beginning to fatigue. I'm sorry. Empathic Tarot's video. I love the World card in her deck. It's actually the stage. The lights are out. It's a little bit like, see this one here. This is the Hermit card. So you can see the stage, and at the back, it's dark. Well, it's a similar concept where the stage is there. You see the floor. Lights are turned out, and all that's left are the props. And so it's basically saying the play is over, everything's done, the audience is left, and the audience and the actors, the theatre dolls have left the building. And when you couple it up with the Fool card, it says in the book apparently this is where the decision is made. Or this is where you have an opportunity to start again. If you have reached the level of sage, being a sage, I don't know how to term it properly, but if you are the sage by the end of your Fool's journey, you have the choice to start afresh, doing the same play or something completely different. If you find yourself if you find yourself at the end as the Fool, after traveling through the Fool's journey and you remain the Fool, you don't have any choice. You have to relive the same play, that very same play, and take the journey again until you learn, until you embrace your karma and deal with it accordingly. You can still have, the same. It's the same thing. But to me, this says we've done really well. This to me is a happy ending. This is saying success. Congratulations. And I love the fact that the other one is kind of questionable. What is the deal here? The only thing that's left in the darkness are the props sitting on the floor. In an ideal world, I would like to make that card and add it to this. It's such a shame they don't offer both those cards in the deck. Considering they've put other extras in, that would be the ultimate. So that's why I was so bummed. So I just find it intriguing. The deck that I fall in love with more than any other deck in a bloody long time has been such trial and error in many ways. So this is very long. I'm so sorry, but I hope you gained something out of this. I just wanted to share a couple of other cards that I love. I was actually going to walk through the needles, the air cards, because I did write some notes, but I think it's getting a little bit long now. So I'll either tack it on a separate video or I'll just leave you with Empathic Tarot, who does an amazing job. And again, thank you. Oh my God, I'm so grateful to you. And I love your channel and I love every video you do. She's just absolutely adorable in every way, but very knowledgeable on tarot to boot. So first of all, let me find a fave for you. Here's one. This is Justice, which is actually number 8 in this deck. How fascinating. You've got two people here sitting on what looks to be a glass seesaw of sorts. It sits on a sphere, which sits on a book. And of course, the books are always pertaining to knowledge. So this is a balancing act. And you can see on the floor, there are these sharp tacks, I would call them. And so you get that sense, wow, this is crucial to stay in balance. One sudden movement or one irresponsible move, you are not only going to hurt yourself, but hurt the other person. You know, you're doomed to fall upon these very sharp tacks. And the pain would be considerable, I imagine. So you really must consider your actions and, you know, any sort of careless decisions will lead to consequences, no doubt, that are rather uncomfortable. That's really cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. And see, again, you've got the backdrop. There's like a brick wall on one side, very dark grey, and on the other side, a white curtain. Again, it's that, you know, the yin and yang of life. There's the scales up the top there. So again, it reminds us that we are in control of this balancing act throughout our lives. And again, think, you know, think and look before you move and decide and leap. Hi everyone, sorry about this sudden shift. My camera decided to cut out, which was highly inconvenient because I didn't know. But aside from that, I was losing a great deal of light, so I thought it might be better to wait until the following day, which it is now, and just show you the last few cards, camera to card, because the artwork is just so beautiful. So one card I wanted to show you before I finish is the Moon card. I really love this card very much, and I would like actually to learn more about it. This is one card where I wish I could read the guidebook just to get an idea of the intent behind it, to make sure that, you know, I'm not missing some important messages. I've only had the chance to watch Empathic Tarot's video once, so I can't quite remember what she said about it. Anyway, you'll be able to enjoy that for yourself. But, you know, when I look at it here, obviously you see we have the towers here, the watchtowers or the pillars are made of blocks. And, you know, clearly it sort of forms a bit of an arc. We've got the crescent moon at the top here, and so it meets at the top. But you can see we've got our animal instincts here with the dog on the conscious side and the wolf on the unconscious. You know, wide awake, open eye, and sleep. And then here, I think this is more about perception, you know, a wider view, open perception, clarity, looking further and wider, as opposed to the black block here with just a dot on it, which indicates something something along the lines of, you know, tunnel vision, that kind of thing. But please don't quote me on that. But what I really love about this card, you can see the theatre doll is sitting by his bed, and it seems he's got head in hands. So you get that sense that something isn't quite right, or he's not completely comfortable. And rather than, you know, a road that leads to the hills, it's almost like, to me, it's the road that leads to the other side of self. And I sat here wondering, well, is that the unconscious or is that the unconscious? And which direction is this energy flowing? Is he a little bit kind of uncomfortable with what he saw because he's been there? Did he just return from this dream state? Or, you know, is he just feeling trepidation about going there? It's really quite fascinating to me, and I think it can go in many different directions. So yeah, I just can't help but feel like he's afraid of what he might see. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to differentiate between a dream and reality. We have those dreams where they're so real, you'd swear you were in your waking life. So it's like, what is reality? Or maybe he's struggling to differentiate between the two. But whatever this means, I love this artwork. So I think this could take you on quite a journey if you use this in meditation. I'm not sure what the little blue, it looks like a piece of paper here. Is it just phases of the moon? But you can see it's on the other side as well. I'm really not sure. So I may even ask Empathic Tarot if she wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more from the guidebook if she's ever in the mood one day, because I would love, love, love it. I'm praying that I will one day get that PDF of this deck in English. Anyway, there's just another couple I wanted to show you. Here, for instance, is the Temperance card, which in this deck is called Abstinence. And I love, again, how they use blocks here. And the blocks represent, as did the balloons, the elements. So we have the fire, earth, air, water, and spirit, or higher mind, is the black. And so she's sitting quietly in meditation. You can see her little mask, her face there, very zen. And there's an egg timer here, so it's almost like it's just, you know, swinging by, but it's not about time. Time will just tick by anyway, but the idea is you take the time that you need to find your inner peace, balance and equilibrium after experiencing the death card prior, that card of letting go and transformation. So now we need to get that equilibrium back, and I noticed that on the top and in the center of the bottom is the black block of the higher mind. So that's really interesting. And then when you get to the Tower card, here are the blocks again. I'll take that one away. And in this instance, they built a tower kind of willy-nilly. See how the blocks are a little bit sort of twisted, and they want to get high. Like, they want the height of the tower. They don't just want to get high. But they want to build a high tower quickly. So you can see that it's not very well built, and there's not a decent foundation. They've gone, you know, row of 3 very, very quickly. And so therefore, when this makes you want to break out into song, isn't it? But I'm not going to sing Wrecking Ball, I promise. But yeah, when this pendulum swings by, it sort of gives you that feeling that it takes absolutely no effort to knock not just the people off, but also knock the tower down. So by perhaps allowing the ego to take over and want to get, you know, the highest tower the quickest, at the end of the day, it results in demolition. So what I love is after that, the star comes in. And so the message here is, listen, if you have a plan, first and foremost, you're almost guaranteed a better run forward. And you know, here's the star smiling, looking down on her, and she's, you know, she's at work, she's concentrating, and clearly there's such a difference in the foundation of this particular structure compared to the tower. And notice also the difference in the backdrop curtains. The color is so much brighter and beautiful. So we've got stars everywhere. It's like basically the backdrop is meant to be, I guess, a starry night. But she's being guided perhaps, but she also has her own plan. She has a focus and she's putting effort into this project. So I like it. It's not just saying, oh, stay hopeful and everything will be groovy. It's like, well, you can participate in your journey, step up, ground yourself, you know, have a formula and start afresh, and you'll be surprised just how far you get. Then when we get to judgment, we've got that the egg timer, but see how it's not swinging. So it's almost like time's moving forward beautifully here, as it should, even though it's not about time. But now all of a sudden it's still, because it's almost like a little, well, I was going to say it's almost like a little alarm bell, but we don't have, you know, the angel with the trumpet here. So it's almost like, yeah, that is ding-a-ling-a-ling, look out. And the boomerang has returned. I don't know if you can see, but it's actually, you can see the wires there, the thread, as, you know, because it's puppet theatre. I love it. I just love the whole concept. But he looks rather surprised. Oh my gosh, is it that time already? He's got his book of knowledge on the floor, the cup's knocked over, there's a needle, which is swords, on the floor. It's not threaded from what I can see. The spool's empty. There's the apple that represents earth, and it's half eaten. The blocks are all over the place. And from what I can remember, this card is about, well, it is the judgment card. So the boomerang is everything that he has done on his journey. I think, you know, his decisions, his intent, his actions. So this is like karma returning, and it's up to you to take responsibility for your journey thus far. And of course, you know, the timer is there to say, hey, we're one step away from the world card. We're one step away from the play coming to an end. So you really need to get your shits and hoosen together. And as I mentioned earlier, when the play begins with the Fool transitioning into the magician phase, if you like, that is where the decision is made, whether it's by you, by your higher self, by the gods, all of the above, as to whether you commence your journey as the Fool or the Sage. So this is like the last chance to up the ante and, again, take responsibility so you have an opportunity to start your next play as the Sage. Oh my God, I love it. Anyway, again, this is kind of me just making my way through with a bit of help from the video that I've watched once. I need to review, so you'll get more information from Empathic, but I just love that. And, you know, you think about that thing where, I don't know, on so many movies or cartoons, and, you know, where they have featured a boomerang and it comes back to people that aren't looking out. You know, they throw the boomerang, turn around, walk away, and it comes back and hits them in the head. And I just think, again, I'm sure, or I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of this message as well. You know, if you are not aware, it could come back and whack you across the noggin. So, you know, open your eyes and take responsibility. But, you know, you think, he's like, uh-oh, oh shit, I better hurry. So there you have it. That's just some of the majors, and I'll just leave you with this beautiful vision because I'm such a fan of the Hermit card and I love this. Again, we have, you know, the conscious and the unconscious, the black and white curtains. And once again, we've got all the elements and props on the floor. What looks to be a little sort of treasure chest here full of goodies. There's some pentacles there. So a prop, there's a hat, and we've got book of knowledge. We've got the needle there in the curtain. The cup's knocked over. It's empty. It's been utilized. The match has been struck. You know, he took a bite of the apple yet again. So all of the elements and all of the props have been used. However, he's taking this opportunity to walk away from the other players, to walk away from the props and the influences, and go backstage, away from everything and everyone. For backstage is dark and quiet, and that is where he will gain his higher knowledge and get the peace and tranquility that he needs. that sense of just walking away from the play that we call life until further notice. I just love it. And notice that he took his mask off. I don't need to play this role anymore, at least not at this stage. So, not at this stage, ho, 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 because he's on stage. But that's the thing, he's on stage and he's retreating to backstage. I love it. And even the night curtain is parting. I mean, he is going into nothingness. Oh, my God. I've got to stop talking about this deck. Anyway, I've started to edge it in black, and it's coming along really well, folks. I just love it. And so there you have it, the beautiful Puppet Theatre Tarot. And I'll let you know how I go with communications. And the only other thing is, since I recorded the video yesterday, I saw a couple of other images of the boxed set, and it is very confusing because some of them appear to have cards with white borders and others black. So if you do decide to buy the deck from an online store somewhere along the line, if you, like me, prefer the black borders, you might just have to wing it and keep your fingers crossed. So I just thought I'd mention that before I forget. Okay, take care everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. And before I go...